whatever. You know, I mean, he just doesn't seem to be that kind of a guy. You'd probably think twice before inviting him over for supper. Or at least maybe you should brush up on your Old Testament theology so you can make sure that you can have I'll say an above-board intelligent conversation with the guy. You certainly didn't want to get into an argument with him.
Amen.
That was definitely not a good idea. But I think, and as I'm even pondering Romans 16 right now, it reveals a little different side of this great apostle, this great man of God. Here we're discovering something. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of Romans, there were some things that Paul said in some of his early writings. He says, if I could, I would exchange myself for you.
Yes.
Right? And there was a clue right there, but this chapter drives that thought home. The idea that he had a heart for his people. There was a reason he had to remain steadfast. There was a reason that he had to remain true, and he had to remain committed to the cause of Christ, to the organization of the church, because that's what meant the most, not just to him, but to the people. Many times we have folks, they want to come to church, and they want the pastor, and they want everybody in the church to cater to what they feel like they want. They want this, that, and the other thing to make them feel a certain way. And the problem is that the preacher gets up and he wants to give you the truth. But what did I say a few weeks ago? The problem is that when the truth is coming, it's like on Star Trek. Your heart sees that the truth is coming in, and you say, Shields!
It'll be painful.
And by the time the truth is delivered, it hits the barricade. It hits the barrier of your shield, of your force field, if you will, because you see it as an attack. But can I tell you that if you will allow the truth will set you free, if you will allow it to work in you, if you allow it to make you uncomfortable, if you understand where it's coming from. I appreciate some of you say, well, Pastor, I listen to what you say because I know it comes from God. Let me tell you, when you tell me something like that, I choose my words wisely. And sometimes I don't use any words at all. Amen. Because it's better that way. And my wife says amen. But Romans 16 reveals that he had a heart for people. In the chapter here, I mean, he mentioned 30-something people by name. And he included 20 people from the church in Rome. He also mentioned 2 others in Rome, but he doesn't give their name. And the fact, it's an amazing fact that when you realize that Paul had never been to Rome. And get this, this was like the 1st century, not the 21st century. He didn't even have a telephone. Hello?
Hello?
No internet, no social media. He didn't have any of that stuff to become acquainted with these people. He had to do it the old-fashioned way. Through letters. Through other people. Amen?
Amen.
I think we've lost some of that. And in order for us to get back to the real love, we've got to come to a place where we realize that, let me see here. Where's mine at? Oh, there it is. That this thing is not a real relationship. Your Facebook, your Snapchat, your Instagram, I don't care what it's not real. Well, yeah, I'm sending a message to a real person, you're not talking to him.
Amen.
My wife will tell you, if she says, well, I just talked to so-and-so. I said, did you? Did you talk to them? Well, no, it was a text. Then you didn't talk. What if I told you that talking is a whole lot better than... Well, I'd really rather text. Boy, let me tell you, if you're one of those people, if you haven't learned this by now, you're leaving yourself wide open for a whole lot of misunderstandings.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
It's hard enough when you speak to people and they don't see you. Hello? Even on the phone, because I can't see on your face whether you've got a... Wait, I can tell you're smiling, but what kind of smile is it?
Amen.
Are you understand what I'm telling you? He'd never been there, but these people he loved, he knew them by name. This is absolutely amazing. And listen, he sends greetings to 28 other people. All we know Let me give you this. What is the sweetest thing that you hear? What is the sweetest thing that anybody hears? Well, I'll ask them. Debbie, what's the sweetest thing that I get to hear from your mouth?
I love you.
That's nice, but what else? Because you could say that to anybody. But if you started out with my name, oh. The sweetest thing that anybody will ever hear is their name.
Grandma, grandpa.
Did you know, watch this, when that roll is called up yonder? Can you imagine this? You. No, he's calling you what? By name. The sweetest sound. We all know how important it is for somebody to remember someone else's name. Can you imagine how exciting it was for these people back there in the first century, Roman Christians? They came to the end of this incredible letter and they found out and said, whoa, would you look at that? Paul remembered my name.
Amen.
Someone has said that nothing is sweeter to a person than the sound of his name. I said that just now, didn't I?
Amen.
And the same is true for a written letter. Well, let me give you for instance. How many of you love that letter that is addressed to this person lives in everybody's home? Just so you know. Everybody.
Amen.
Every house.
Jesus.
Occupant. When you get a letter that says to occupant, oh, and that's special. Where's the words basket? Wait a minute, I'm going to burn, I got me some kindling here. I mean, think about this. Your name's not occupant, I'm not occupant. But if you have a name, if you have a letter that comes to you in your name now, and here's the same thing goes for this. If I get a letter in the mail, and I look at that letter, and it says to Tony, Tony, I'm assuming that's a robot that doesn't know how to spell my name. They don't know me. They don't, you hear what? But if it says Tony, and if they use the name Anthony, I look at it also a different way. But the Toni's go along with the occupant letter. Can I get a witness?
Amen.
Names matter. It's a wonderful feeling when you enter into a room and maybe it's a strange place. And I shared a few times with you about how it is at a couple of places I've gone to work recently where somebody from afar off, they're saying, Tony! And I'm looking because it sounds like it's coming from heaven, and it's somebody I hadn't seen in years. I felt pretty special that day. I was a little embarrassed, and I'll tell you why I was embarrassed. I could not instantly return the same sentiment to him. Of course, I could say it's because my eyes are older and he was far off, but when he came down from that man lift, and I walked over, and I should know this guy because he sure knows me. It took me a few minutes. And it took another friend saying, hey, that's Danny. Oh, hi, Danny. I'm good. I mean, just so you know, I just made his day. He doesn't know how I struggle to make his. But the sweetest name that you'll ever hear is going to be your own name. You don't want to, listen, when it comes to be up there and Jesus is calling somebody, you don't want, hey, you. Again, we don't know the details on most any of these people. But here's a brief account of what we know. Phoebe, verses 1 and 2. Up in Corinth and later in Ephesus, early on, they taught Apollos the true doctrine of Jesus in Acts chapter 18, verses 24 to 28. They established house churches wherever they went. And at one point, they risked their lives for Paul. You know, that's a well fact known among the Gentile churches. And then there's some other names I'm going to try to pronounce. Abinadius on verse 4. This was Paul's first convert in Asia Minor. That would be in Turkey, by the way. He wasn't in Rome, he was in Turkey. And evidently, later they moved to Rome. And then in verse 5, it's Mary. And she was a hard-working Christian woman. And Andronicus and Junia in verse 7. And they're either brother and sister or their husband and wife. And they were a missionary team. And then Paul calls them kinsmen. Why? Because they were also Jews. They came to Christ. And here's something that you might have caught. They came to Christ before he did.